December 7th, 1941. It was a brisk, overcast morning. The skies were gray and tense, matching the uncertainty that seemed to hang over the world. In Europe, families huddled in basements, listening to the distant sounds of bombs. Across the ocean in America, people were just waking up, feeling the bite of winter but grateful for peace at home, peace that seemed fragile. The world was at a tipping point. Some sensed a storm on the horizon, a reckoning that would leave no country untouched. For over 2 years, Adolf Hitler had pushed forward his brutal vision for Germany and his dream of domination, plunging Europe into unimaginable chaos. But one question haunted people everywhere. Why did Hitler start all this? The reason behind Hitler's actions. To understand why Hitler did this, we have to look back to the end of World War I. Germany was left humiliated, its pride shattered by the Treaty of Versailles. This treaty blamed Germany entirely for the war, stripped it of territories, imposed massive reparations, and limited its military. For many Germans, this was more than a setback. It was an insult that burned deeply. And Hitler, a man who rose from the trenches of that very war, took this anger and turned it into a promise. Hitler convinced the people of Germany that they had been wronged, that their suffering was due to the injustices imposed by other nations. He promised to restore Germany's glory, to erase the shame of Versailles, and to give Germans what he called Lebensraum, or living space. Eastern Europe, he claimed, held this space, and his vision became one of conquest. As he gained power, Hitler quickly discarded the restrictions of Versailles. He rearmed Germany, built up the military, and set his sights on his neighbors, starting with Austria and then Czechoslovakia. In 1939, he invaded Poland, pushing the world to the edge and forcing Britain and France to declare war. The Blitzkrieg and the conquest of Europe. Hitler had developed a new tactic to wage this war, Blitzkrieg, or lightning war. German tanks and aircraft would attack with speed and ferocity, overwhelming the enemy before they could even react. Poland fell swiftly, and the rest of Europe was shaken. Soon, Norway, Denmark, the Netherlands, Belgium, and even France were under German control. By mid-1940, Nazi Germany had reached its peak, with most of Western Europe in its grasp. Yet, Hitler wasn't satisfied. His vision extended beyond mere land. He saw other countries, Britain, France, and especially the Soviet Union, as obstacles to be crushed. These nations symbolized resistance, and in Hitler's mind, they stood in the way of Germany's destiny, Japan's ambitions, and the attack on Pearl Harbor. While Hitler pursued his plans in Europe, Japan had its own ambitions in East Asia. The Japanese Empire sought to expand its influence, taking over territories rich in resources to fuel their own power. They viewed the Western presence, especially the United States, as a hindrance to their goals. In a bold and aggressive move, Japan joined forces with Germany and Italy, forming the Axis powers. Then, on that fateful day, December 7, 1941, Japanese planes attacked the U.S. naval base at Pearl Harbor. It was a brutal strike intended to cripple the U.S. Navy and deter America from interfering in Asia. Instead, it galvanized the U.S. The next day, America declared war on Japan, and soon, Germany declared war on America, plunging the world fully into this massive global conflict. The course of the war, Allied resistance, and key battles. With the United States joining Britain and the Soviet Union, the Allies now had the power and resources to stand against Hitler. They launched strategic offensives, first pushing back in North Africa and Italy, and later mounting a massive operation in 1944, the D-Day invasion in Normandy, France. This daring assault marked a turning point as Allied forces broke through Nazi defenses and began liberating occupied countries. In the Pacific, the United States engaged in Island Hopping, a grueling campaign to reclaim territory from Japan. The tide of war was turning, but at a tremendous cost of life and resources. The Holocaust, a chilling reality. As the war raged, Hitler's darkest plans were set in motion. His twisted ideology of racial superiority led to one of the most horrifying events in history, the Holocaust. Hitler ordered the extermination of millions he deemed undesirable, primarily targeting the Jewish population across Europe. Concentration camps like Auschwitz became sites of unimaginable suffering. By the end of the war, over 6 million Jews, along with countless others, had been systematically murdered. The Holocaust remains one of the most tragic reminders of the horrors that unchecked hate and prejudice can bring upon the world. The end of the war, Hitler's suicide, and Germany's surrender. By 1944, the Allies had Germany in a stranglehold. Soviet forces pressed in from the east, while American, British, and Canadian troops advanced from the west. Hitler's plans were collapsing. In April 1945, as Soviet forces stormed Berlin, Hitler retreated to his bunker and, facing the defeat of his empire, took his own life on April 3rd. 1 week later, on May 8, 1945, Germany surrendered. This day, known as V-Day, marked the end of the war in Europe. However, the conflict with Japan continued, leading the United States to make a devastating choice: to drop atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945. The destruction forced Japan to surrender, and on September 2nd, the world witnessed the official end of World War II. The cost and the human toll. World War II left scars that would never fully heal. The total death toll exceeded 70 million, including soldiers and civilians. Entire cities were reduced to rubble, families were torn apart, and economies lay in ruins. Germany, Japan, and much of Europe faced an enormous task of rebuilding from the ashes of war. Legacy of World War II, a new world order, and lasting lessons. The devastation led to new alliances and organizations aimed at preventing future conflicts. The United Nations was established with the hope of fostering global peace. International laws were developed to protect human rights and to prevent atrocities like the Holocaust from ever happening again. Yet, as the war ended, a new tension emerged: the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union. This rivalry would shape global politics for decades. World War II taught the world the high cost of unchecked ambition and hatred. It left a legacy of lessons on the importance of unity, vigilance, and human rights.